a healthier life. This is CURES.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the CURES Show, where we explore cutting-edge wellness from credible sources. And certainly, it seems like everyone's pushing protein lately. You can find it in everything, from coffee to pasta, even your water, your cereal. So how much do we really need? In today's CURES, we're talking about this craze and what the plate should really look like with someone who actually knows, and that's Dr. Jennifer Stagg. She is a naturopathic doctor, also the founder of Whole Health Wellness Center in Farmington, also the host of the Natural Doctor Show. So welcome. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
So this is the thing. You go to 5 years at least of medical school and all these years of practicum, and as a naturopathic doctor, you're really taught about prevention, weight loss, everything through food, right?
Yes.
So are we overboard on protein right now?
Oh, yeah. Like, it's gotten way out of control. It went from just this discussion on making sure people are getting enough protein to really, really overdoing it. And I would definitely, blame that on social media. And I think some of the numbers have gotten skewed or something. And I think, the recommendations are based on kilograms of weight. And in the United States, we don't use kilograms to weigh ourselves, right?
Yeah.
We're using pounds. And so it turned into eat the amount of your weight in pounds in protein, grams of protein, right?
So if you're ideal body weight, and let's say you want to be 125 pounds as a woman, the idea was you need at least 125 grams of protein, much more if you're a man.
Right.
And that's not true?
No, that's not true.
Even for weight loss?
Yeah, even for weight loss, because that's going to put you up into, close to almost 2 grams per kilogram. And the research on what would be optimal protein is actually a gram to 1 to 1.2. So it's
for kilograms.
For kilograms.
And
so
a kilogram is 2.2 kilograms for 1 pound.
2.2 pounds in 1 kilogram.
Oh, I got it reversed. Yeah.
Yes.
So I think I saw something online we could multiply our ideal body weight by about 0.55, and we would get there. But even if you don't want to do all that math.
You can literally just Google weight conversion pounds to kilograms, and you just stick in your weight. It's so easy to do this now, and then you'll get your weight in kilograms. So
and
you don't
then
even have to know.
Make that about equal.
So make that about equal, and you can go even a little bit more for that, but that's going to essentially equate to 75 to 90 grams of protein for most adults. So 120, for someone, if you were doing 120 grams of protein or 125 grams of protein, then you're looking at 500 calories on protein alone. It doesn't leave you much room for carbohydrate and fats in your diet. It's going to put you on a very high, what would be considered to be a very high protein diet, upwards of 45-50% of your calories in some cases coming from protein. And we know from long-term studies, Mediterranean diets are 25 to 30% at the top of protein coming in. And then certainly researchers like Walter Longo, who, does a lot of research on cancer, they're down in the range of optimal protein long-term should be 0.6 grams per kilogram. So a lot lower, meaning most Americans or most active adults should be eating maybe more 50 grams of protein a day. So they're even going, and
those are for disease prevention numbers,
yes,
right?
Yeah.
And I know what everyone's obsessed with right now, and I can hear you right now going, okay, fine, I want to be healthy, but I also want to lose weight.
Yeah.
And people find that when they eat just a lot of protein and nothing else, that they start to lose weight. So what's behind that, and how can we balance the fact that I guess we do need some more protein when you're on a GLP-1 or you're trying to lose weight, but we don't want to overdo it because you could actually be making it worse. I didn't know this, but you told me if we eat too much protein, it'll actually just turn to sugar?
Yes, exactly. And especially if you're someone who is insulin resistant or has some level of metabolic syndrome, you're not going to handle that protein as well, first of all, but just in general, most adults can really only process 25 to 30 grams of protein in a sitting.
Even men?
Even men. And then the rest of that is going to go more so into made into glucose by this process called gluconeogenesis. So now that can cause some inflammation and even also, a lot of people have problems digesting that amount of protein. So we'll have patients that are coming in and they started eating these copious amounts of protein, 120, 150 grams of protein, and they're gassy, they're bloated. Like that protein goes through this process in the gut called putrefaction. So it's like bacterial action on it, and people are like gassy and like not really comfortable. And we know that the gut health is really important here too for weight loss. So you can get into like some issues that where it's basically backfiring for a lot of people. Yeah, so, because they're like multiple different levels, like that glucose, but also then they might not be calorie restricting enough. Like calories still do matter also.
Yes. Yeah. Calories, it's not as simple as calories in, calories out, but we also kind of threw that out.
Yes.
And my son will be coming to me and saying he wants to get a meal with, 60 grams of protein. That's going to be a very high caloric meal, right? So like calories, we still want to get most of our calories from whole foods. We need protein.
Yes. Yep.
But if you're getting like an obscene amount of protein, then you have to be eating more calories.
Yeah, and even when you like look at like sports nutritionists, because I went through this with my son and as a hockey player, like if you're looking at sports nutrition and these kids that are like really, doing it, like working hard on the field or wherever they are on the ice, they will combine like carbs and like they're not going overboard on protein. It's still like higher than, what just regular adults should be eating, but it is still balanced out with these carbs, right? That you still need the carbs in there to fuel the muscle.
So when you're sitting here saying I'm going to eat only protein and no carbs, that's not healthy either.
No, that's like really hard on the body. Yeah, like it's just too much protein. As I said, it can cause metabolic stress. It can cause oxidative stress, inflammation in the gut. We know that's really bad for the microbiome in terms of, weight loss, that a lot of this is related to the microbiome. And then if you're someone like more and more like adults, and especially in the United States, are having low kidney disease, chronic kidney disease. So if they already have some level of kidney disease, then the protein requirements are actually recommended to be lower because there's some evidence that it could progress kidney disease further.
Oh, okay.
So that's something we see. And I even see that in practice where patients might be, stage 1 kidney disease, where it's just like a watch and wait, don't overdo it on protein. And then they're reading this stuff online. They've never been told not to overdo it on protein. And they're coming in, their kidney function tests are actually like declining. Wow. And, if you're up in those like early stages, that is reversible. But, there are potential like actual harms with this.
Okay. And where should we be getting protein from?
Yeah, so food first, right? So instead of...
Not water with protein in it?
No, not water with protein in it.
What about coffee with protein?
Don't
That actually, I think you're okay putting some protein powder in a coffee.
So that's where we're like looking at the benefits of collagen, basically, right? So if we're using collagen in there, that's different than just like sticking some like digestible amino acids into, water, and then there's not a lot of benefit for that if you're already getting enough with meals.
So when you're seeing like protein in your water, protein in your cookies, protein in your waffles, that's marketing.
Yeah.
It's kind of like back in the 80s when we were saying fat-free, fat-free, fat-free. Yeah. People tended to gain weight.
That is like, this is what we're going through right now.
Just the reverse of protein's the new buzzword. Okay, so back to how we should eat it.
Yes. Yeah.
I think, sometimes because I do a show like this, I think we all know, but my brother, who's a very smart man, graduated Harvard, actually said, well, how do you know what's a protein? I'm like, well, but so some people don't really know. So what is a protein?
Yeah, so a protein is basically amino acid based. So, the chemistry has to do with, the actual like peptides that are put together. And sources of protein are going to be, of course, meats are going to be obvious sources of protein. So poultry, red meat, pork, like all of those, like animal meats are going to have like concentrated protein and some fat. You're not really going to see any carbs in there. And then other things would be eggs and dairy products. Again, you're going to have some fat in here. So it's not just like pure protein in terms of the composition. And then there are a lot of plant-based sources as well. So we can also get protein from things like tofu and edamame and tempeh. Like, yes, there'll be a little bit of carbohydrate in there too, and sometimes a little bit of fat, but those are all what we would call concentrated sources of protein, where you're going to get a lot more.
Doesn't mean there's not protein in, say, broccoli. It's just not a big source.
Yes, not as concentrated. That's what I would say. And then beans, like legumes, lentils, those are going to have some protein in there as well. When we look at the plant-based proteins, then back to this like chemistry of amino acids, like there's 20 essential amino acids. And so when we look at plants, the types of protein that we'll find in plants won't have like a complete complex of amino acids. So this is why cultures were so smart so long ago to know not to get into deficiency states, to combine the like rice and beans together, and that gives a complete protein. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So those are rice and beans together would give you a complete protein.
Yes.
So let's talk about what your ideal plate should look like, because I find that this is a little bit easy. Right now, you might be, if you're paying attention to social media, you're probably trying to eat protein like it's your job, and you're feeling like, here's a steak and here's chicken, and then 2 hours from now I'll try to have another protein shake.
Right.
And so just the whole process probably doesn't feel natural. But if we build a plate, and you do want protein in every meal.
Yep. So you want to have, and that's the way we think about it, is like, let's balance this out. So if we're saying like 75 to 90, let's say we say 90 grams of protein, which is like a really good amount of protein, let me just say.
That's even on the higher end.
Yeah,
where
like that's probably being like 1.2 grams per kilos for most people of ideal body weight. If we go with that, then we're talking about, let's say 30 grams of protein in 3 meals. So you want to distribute that out. Like, I don't want you to get like 60 grams of protein and then do 15 in the other 2 meals. So we're going to want to just like have that distributed throughout the day, so you can utilize that protein more effectively, and you're not going to convert that to like glucose to go along with the carbs. So your meal should look, when I think about when I describe this to patients, we just like, it's so simple. It's just, here's your plate.
Here's your plate.
Half of it should be like non-starchy vegetables, and that means vegetables that are not like root vegetables, so not potatoes, not sweet potatoes or carrots or beets, or like the winter squashes. So if you had like butternut squash, like those more denser squash, those are going to be
half greens.
So it should be like half like healthy non-starchy vegetables, and then the other half you split it between protein and then like a healthy carb. And so this is where you might have some of that starchy vegetable on your plate. It could be beans or lentils, like a legume. It could be like beans and rice together. It could be quinoa, something like that.
Sweet potato.
Yeah, sweet potato. That's where you would see the other half. And then you also want to consider healthy fats in there too. So this might be, you've prepared some of this food with olive oil, you're adding some avocado, there could be, I don't know, nuts and seeds in your dish, whatever, right? Like then we want to balance that out with fat as well. And that helps with satiety, and also, your body needs like essential fats to run on too.
Right. So the protein, if you think about a size.
Yes.
So it's about the size of your fist.
Yeah.
For a woman, and maybe a little bit more for a man.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe 2 fists for a man?
Yeah, or a fist and a half.
Fist and a half, okay. So you said also think about like a deck of cards.
Yes.
So if you're eating breakfast, an ideal breakfast with protein to help us feel good and lose weight, and a lot of us are trying to lose fat, what would that look like on the plate?
Yeah, so that could be, your plate might look a little bit different for how we think about breakfast in the United States and Western countries.
It's not a croissant.
Right, yeah, it's not. So you're going to want it, like this might look like a couple of eggs and some fruit, maybe like you could have some avocado on your egg, right? You're going to have some fat and protein, and the fruit here could be, instead of we're talking about it could be that your eggs have vegetables in there. It could be an omelet or something, but you're going to want to get some, healthy vegetables and fruit in there too. That's the way I would think about it.
Because a lot of times, you're seeing on social media that if you're having 2 eggs for breakfast, it's not enough, because I think it's only 12 grams of protein.
Yeah.
So, but do we then have 4 eggs, or is that too much cholesterol? Do we try to build with egg whites?
Yeah, so you could, so you could have more, like it could be 3 eggs, or it could be a little bit of turkey sausage with that.
Okay.
And it could be that,
What about like protein toast?
yeah, like I was
don't know
going to
if that's
say,
really
but
protein. Like Dave's Killer Bread says it has protein
right,
in
some
it.
of these, like Ezekiel, that's the word I was trying to come up with that I wasn't placing. Ezekiel bread, like a sprouted grain bread, is going to have a little bit more protein in it as well. So then you've got your starch and your sprouted grains. And then, yeah, like that could be a slice of toast, and you have some, maybe you have like avocado on there, and then you've got like eggs and like an egg scramble or something like that.
And
like
it could
that
be really
would be
quick.
balanced
Like,
out.
I mean, people think they don't have time for breakfast, but you could just
No,
scramble.
like,
some
yeah, you don't have to be like making an omelet, but you can scramble some veggies in too, like do an egg scramble pretty quickly.
Or if you're going out for breakfast, which a lot of people do, those little egg bites that you get would be better, a cleaner source than like a bacon, egg, and cheese.
For sure.
Here's the thing. People are adding bacon and adding fatty cheeses and things because they're like, oh, it has protein. Bacon has protein. But that's not a good source of protein, right?
Yeah, I mean, you can render a lot of the fat out of bacon, first of all, right? Like if it's like soaking in fat, now you're getting a bunch of saturated fat. And a lot of times most of the bacon is not like raised in a manner that those fats are going to be healthy versus like, pasture raised or something like that. Then I would say, okay, a little bit of that quality does matter in terms of fats there. But yeah, there are healthier ways to get protein in. Yeah, so I would probably.
What about a protein shake? Like, does it matter if it's plant protein or whey protein? Yeah,
you could do either one, and we know that. I usually recommend patients, unless they're really struggling to, make food, and it could be that they are really busy in the morning. We do want to get that protein in the morning, because we really do emphasize getting some protein in the morning, that is important for kind of like setting up your sort of like blood sugar control throughout the day, so you're not having these crashes. But yeah, protein shakes can be totally fine. Whey, plant-based proteins, like mixed protein, like pea, like a pea mix or something like that, those are good as well. Obviously you want to like look at your protein shake and make sure that it's good quality. It doesn't have a bunch of other junk in there. A lot of times, you'll see like a lot of additives in there. So
we don't want to be just living on powders, but you're okay with having a protein shake. Yeah, you can mix
in some of that, and then like maybe you're doing it in a blender. If that's something you're going to have like on a really regular basis, then maybe you can do it like in a quick like NutriBullet or something, and throw some other like spinach, kale, or something like that in there to like get more of those phytonutrients.
Greek yogurt, a cup of it is like 20 grams, right?
Oh yeah,
so Greek yogurt is
really,
good.
Yeah, so you could really get a lot of protein in that way. So that's another thing you could mix in, or if it, like dairy is not an issue for you, you could do Greek yogurt. Then I would like recommend putting some sort of like seeds in there, whether it's like ground flaxseed or chia seed. You always want to kind of let chia seed sort of sit for a little bit in water or liquid. Like you can put it directly in the yogurt to plump it up.
Yeah, I didn't know that until you told me. Like
I
was putting my chia seeds in the smoothie, and then that's not a good thing.
Yeah,
then you're just grinding them
unless it's like soaking in there for a while. So you kind of like, if you are going to do it in a full smoothie, you'd want to put the water in and put your chia seeds in and let it sit for 10 minutes probably before you go and blend it all.
And why is that?
It needs to plump up a little bit so it'll be more digestible.
Okay.
Yeah.
And flax seeds, reverse. You want those ground.
Yes. So just straight up, like soaking flax seeds doesn't plump them up at all.
You want to buy it already ground.
Buy it already ground. And then I would use like berries in there, right? Like, so then you're going to get some fiber, phytonutrients, like that is really important. So I would have like a substantial, like more like a cup of berries. So, and you combine it with the yogurt, and that's a pretty filling breakfast. If you're putting like a couple of tablespoons of flaxseed on top of that. That's going to last you till lunch, no problem.
I've been doing that, like a big thing of the Greek yogurt. Should you buy the full fat, the medium fat, the fat-free, like what?
No, so whole fat.
Really?
100% go whole fat, because...
Like the 5%er on the Fage.
Yes, the one that says like whole milk, which is usually like 4%, 5%. And that, because in long-term studies, it's been shown that full-fat dairy is better for you. If you're having reduced fat or no fat, it actually increases the risk of diabetes and metabolic syndrome and insulin resistance, because when you're taking that fat out, then it speeds up how quickly the milk sugar, so there's still carbohydrate in dairy, it speeds up how quickly that gets into your system. And so it can cause blood sugar spikes, basically. So whenever you combine like fat and protein with carbs, it's going to make that meal like stay in your system, like in your digestive system, a little bit longer.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is why the old American breakfast, or maybe some people are still doing this, but the traditional breakfast of just like cereal and milk is probably not the best breakfast.
No.
That's a big blood sugar spike and not enough protein.
I usually try to get everyone off cereal if they're doing it. Now, sometimes we'll kind of say like,
what about those protein fortified cereals like Kashi or something?
If they're really attached to it, but then we're usually trying to encourage them maybe to switch out to like yogurt and then put like, I don't know, a little, like a couple of tablespoons of that favorite cereal on the
top of the yogurt
and put berries in with it.
Same with cottage cheese, also a good source.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
All right, lots of protein. Yeah, and cottage cheese having a moment.
Yes, and then go full fat with the cottage cheese as well.
Okay, I don't even know if I've seen it full fat.
Yeah,
but
no,
you got to look.
Fat.
Okay.
Yeah.
But if you're decided that you're supposed to be dairy-free, maybe you actually know you're supposed to be dairy-free.
Yeah.
But if you're just doing it to say like, oh, I think coconut yogurt is healthier, you're not getting any protein that way.
Yeah, like it's really, those
you need the dairy
like,
to have the protein. Otherwise, like the coconut milk yogurts or even the almond milk yogurts, they don't have much.
Yeah, they're not very high in protein at all.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so that's breakfast. Lunch, what does a normal lunch look like? To get the right amount of protein, to be healthy and to be trim and the right way.
Yeah, so we usually recommend having like a big salad with like lots of vegetables in there. So you can batch make this salad, right?
Yeah,
you
or
can
get a bag salad.
Yeah, get it, and then you have it for a few days. And then add some protein to that. So that could be like chicken breast, it could be tuna, it could be chicken salad, like something like that. And you can easily pull this off if you were out for lunch or you're getting your lunch out, right?
Salmon,
you are always going to find that. Yeah, you could do like grilled salmon on there. And then it's going to have some healthy fat in there typically because you're going to like dress it. Well, I mean, if you had salmon, you've got like good fat there, but olive oil in your salad.
Always use olive oil, right?
And then a lot of times then we'll recommend like a little bit of starch. So this is where you could do like some beans that could be mixed in with that salad, or you could do, in your salad, it could be that you're having like beets or carrots or something like that. And you're going to get a little bit of starch there. And that's really good too, just for like brain function, like focus and stuff. Like people will notice if they really go without like starch.
I get very, mean. I think I just like
hangry.
I get hangry, and I've tried. And
Even though
maybe
you're
this is
full.
why.
Yeah.
Maybe this is why that we're just not supposed to do that. But when I try to go, you can lose weight, but at least for me, it's not sustainable.
Yeah.
When people say they don't have carbs, I mean, you want us to have carbs that are healthy carbs, not a giant bagel or not a bunch of
talking about
not
like,
white flour, but having those vegetables, having maybe a little quinoa, a little bit of brown rice, something like that.
Yeah.
I feel like my moods are better, and I'm not feeling like I can't think.
Yes, exactly. Like your brain actually needs like glucose to function, and the brain uses 20% of your calories.
Okay.
So it's really out of like for the size of your brain and the rest of the body, the brain uses up a lot of your calories.
Wow.
And it runs on glucose. So, you need some starch in there. That's why you'll feel better, like cognitively, how you operate through the day if you have some of that.
I could talk to you all day, but we only have 5 minutes left, so I want to get to dinner. So you come home and a snack. You know, can you have just a protein bar for a snack, or what's a good snack?
Yeah, like I think about snacks. I mean, ideally, like if you can do it, 3 meals a day is great, right? Like you're having some like digestive rest and metabolic rest in between meals.
But if you're crashing at that like 3-4 o'clock time,
like if you have a long gap between say lunch and dinner, or if you're dealing with blood sugar issues and we need to get like a snack in between, then that could be, there's a lot of different ways to go there, but I would try to make that balanced as well. So that could be something like nuts and an apple, right? So then the nuts are going to have a little protein and fat. You got an apple in there, or you could do like a nut butter. That's like easy, quick, right?
Yeah.
You can carry around nuts. You can have an apple in your bag. Like that's easy to do. You could go and do something like, a string cheese. You can do Parm cheese. Like you can cut off like a chunk of that. That's like nature's protein bar.
Nature's protein bar. Yes, I was just eating a hunk of Parmesan, which you all may think it's weird, but it's in my social media feed. But I asked you, it's actually lactose free and it has like 20 grams of protein for an ounce.
I'll eat that.
So a stick of Parm is an Italian protein, nature's protein.
For sure. Yeah.
All right, so dinner. Dinner also, this is where if you are going to limit carbs, at least for women, and maybe men too, but if we're trying to, not gain weight or even lose weight, you have said that you don't love a lot of carbs at dinner.
Yeah, so I would go lighter. So even when we talked about that plate model, I would definitely, obviously depending on the size of your plate, all this sort of stuff, you could have a big portion of starch on that plate. So really at dinner time, you probably could really limit the amount of starch in there or not even have it. And you're going to get some carbs. Say you're having some tomatoes, you're going to get some carbs, peppers, things like that. You're getting some carbs out of that.
You're getting complex carbohydrates when you have fruit and veggies.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So if you're having vegetables, you're going to get some carbohydrate out of it, right? If you're eating broccoli, those sorts of things. But yeah, this is where I think about mostly non-starchy vegetables, and maybe you could throw in a few pieces of sweet potato. This would be for someone who's really, trying to actively lose weight, and doesn't have any metabolic syndrome or insulin resistance or anything, and then have some sort of lean protein. So again, we're talking about, fish, poultry, some sort of meat. That could be good options there.
Deck of cards
or tofu, right?
Okay.
You can totally get enough protein. I want to say you can be vegan and still get enough protein with food.
It's just harder a little bit.
It's harder.
You got to watch it.
Okay. You can definitely do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So ideally, 3 meals a day.
Yep.
Maybe a snack.
Yep.
And the snack could be fruit and a nut butter or something like that.
Yeah.
But the main thing, you want us to anchor protein at every meal, but we don't have to go overboard of, I'm going to have to eat this, 10-ounce steak to get enough protein.
Yeah.
That would actually not be healthy and maybe reverse everything you're trying to do.
Yes, exactly. Or cook a whole pound of ground beef for your own meal.
Right.
I see this commonly. People are eating a whole
because all over Instagram, my
pack of
son's get me ground beef, and I'm like, okay.
And they're eating an entire pack of it.
Or he's like, I need 8 eggs for breakfast. I'm like, no, you don't.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. Yeah. He's like, okay, fine, then mix it with egg whites, which fine. I mean, a growing boy who's trying to get buff at the gym, they might need some more.
And this is and that's to put it into context, most of the people that are making this crazy effort to eat protein are most of the people that have gained weight and they're metabolically unhealthy. And so they're the ones that have to be careful about eating way too much protein, that it can backfire.
All right, we have too much of a good thing sometimes. I want to let you all know that you can watch the Natural Doctor show. How can people watch it? You did a whole show on this.
Yes, so it's on YouTube, The Natural Doctors. You can subscribe to us, please. And great shows, and they're all about protein for sure.
Okay, yeah, because it's been a craze. So listen to the real doctors, not the Instagram people. So I've learned a lot, and I don't have to eat as much. It's just so great. I have so much time now. I don't have to worry about eating so much protein. All right, everyone, have a great day. Thanks for watching CURES. Follow at Dr. Stagg and follow me at Kara Sundlin. We're happy you're here. Have a great day and be well.